What's up guys? On today's how-to video, we're going to be installing our cam solenoid cover for the EJ25. It's going on our 2011 WRX STI sedan. Hope you enjoy it.
All right, to go over the kit and what it includes, you will have two pieces of the shield. They do have the protective coating on it still. We will have two pieces of gold foil pre-cut to specifically fit each piece. And then for the hardware, we will have three shorter hex head cap screws. All hardware is stainless. Normally it's in a hardware bag. I pulled it out. So we have three hex head cap screws. I believe they are 12 millimeters long. They're M6. We have one that is 20 millimeters long. Again, hex head cap screw M6. We have four fender washers, four 12 millimeter OD washers, a captive washer, and then an 8 millimeter aluminum spacer. I'll go through with you what to do with the hardware at a later date, but that's what is included in the kit. Alright, so the first part of the install for this unit is basically getting the unit ready to install on the car. So we have it on our workbench, and we're going to be removing this laser skin, I guess. It's used to protect the material when it's getting cut by a CNC laser. It comes off pretty easily, but it does leave some nasty residue, which we will clean off real quick with alcohol or acetone. One or the other will probably work pretty well to get that off. So now both parts are pretty clean. I just used some 99% isopropyl alcohol. And now we're going to install a supplied gold foil. Ultimately, you don't need to supply the gold foil. The stainless will provide a good thermal barrier from the exhaust as is, but we include some gold foil to increase the ability to reject heat, as the gold foil is a very good thermal barrier. So overall, very simple install. You're going to do your best to line up the edges and try and get everything to line up as it's supposed to, and we'll do that here real quick. At this point, we now have both the pieces covered in gold foil. There's a little bit larger ovals so that it doesn't twist to the gold foil as you tighten a washer and bolt on it. Alright, so now that the main shield is covered in gold foil, we are going to grab the long bolt, which is a 20 millimeter hex head cap screw, and then you can choose to use either the larger washers or the smaller washers. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Some people like the larger grip area of a fender washer. Other people like the look and feel of a smaller washer. I'm personally going to go with the smaller washer, but you do whatever you would like. We'll do the washer on, slide it through, we'll flip the unit over, place the spacer over top, and then utilizing the captive washer, we'll place that on, and then I'm using an 8 millimeter socket, but any kind of socket will work, probably between 7 and 8 millimeter. And then we'll actually press this on, and then that actually allows the spacer to stay on, and it won't actually fall off. So we'll actually be able to install it as is. It makes the install a lot easier because ultimately you're not trying to put a spacer on top as you can't even reach it. So ultimately it has to happen. But we're ready to go install it now. So we are now under the car looking at the work area we're going to be dealing with. This is the passenger side of the car, at least USDM wise. We have a parent header in the way, but you can see the AVCS controller right there. We have a ground strap that we're going to have to move a little bit. We're going to be bolting to here.
and we're going to end up ultimately be bolting to there, and the shield goes right here. Now there is a plastic unit that normally is there from the factory. Our shop car did not have that on there, likely because it's already melted, and that is very common from what we're being told when people run aftermarket header units. So ultimately that is why we came up with that shield. It is to A, replace the factory piece because it melts, and B, protect the AVCS from malfunctioning due to excessive heat, specifically on track. All right, so we have this ground strap, and it covers this hole, which we end up using for one of the bolts. So we're going to loosen that and move it out of the way. Another bolt that we are going to use, bolt location, is this on the rear right here. So we actually are going to take that off as well. These are all 10 millimeters, by the way. And we will be replacing that hardware, so you can set that aside. Another part we're going to take off, we're going to take this off. If I can get a wrench on it. And we will reuse this bolt, so keep that for sure. And now we're basically to the point of sliding in the replacement heat shield. Now the OEM unit does have to come off if you have the OEM unit. I honestly don't remember how I believe it actually clips in right here, and then it might use one of these bolts. Just remove it to the best of your ability. We are going to now attempt to snake this guy under and over all the components, which can kind of be a little tricky, I will not lie, but ultimately it can slide without removal of the exhaust manifold. Granted, this will probably depend on the exhaust manifold used. It will fit with the pairing. All right, so something I just did real quick, because I was ultimately fighting the ground wire. I removed the ground wire from this bolt and I moved it to this one so that we have a little bit more room for it to go up and not basically be really tight when we put the shield on. If it's really tight and the engine rocks, you can break that, so that would not be good. So I moved it from this location to that location. Now let's try and install the shield again. Gotten decently good at it at this point. It definitely goes together a lot easier when you're not fighting that ground wire. And then we'll basically try and get this bolt started by hand. And then we have a bolt that goes right there. So we'll grab one of the shorter hex heads, and again, I'm using a small washer. You can use the large washer if you'd like. And we'll go up there and try and get that in.
All right. So I'm leaving them loose for right now. Next, we're going to install this bracket, and I want to make sure that everything works there. And as you can see, this is now not super tight, and the O2 sensor is completely missing it, but you definitely don't want to see this tight to avoid it from breaking and rubbing. So we will grab that OEM bolt that we took out of the timing belt cover, and we will install this one. Again, install it loose first because it just makes everything, lining everything up a little bit easier. And then we'll grab the remaining 2 small hex heads and bolt it all together. Again, start with everything loose, and then as you get everything tightened down, you can actually start giving her some final snugging. M6's good rule of thumb is about 5 to 6 foot-pounds, 8 max. You don't need a ton. So then we're down to the last 2 bolts. Just like that, the shield is now installed. Shouldn't make any noise. The ground strap is still loose, so that's good to see. It's got room to move. And the O2 sensor is free as well. Everything looks like it went together correctly. So now the AVCS controller, which is behind that piece right there, now has a really nice thermal barrier from the extremely hot header, and this would definitely benefit anyone that does track days, drag racing, or possibly lives in a warmer climate. Definitely just a good idea all around.
Thanks for watching this install manual. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We really appreciate your support. Thanks.